A massive bomb in South Armagh, an explosion outside the home of a policeman's family, paramilitary-style shootings and beatings. Events that were supposed to be consigned to history, but are very much part of daily life once again. The new Chief Constables pledged to deliver on community policing. But as Yvette Shapiro reports, the PSNI finds itself pulled in two directions as it tries to keep the peace and serve the public.
No one ever said it would be easy, but 10 years after the Patton report, how much progress has been made in the mission to remove politics from policing. Take things here in Derry, a city which has always posed challenges. Against a backdrop of dissident activity and budgetary constraints, can the police move forward in their drive for community policing? Here in the Bogside, these young people have spent the summer trying to improve their neighbourhood by covering up graffiti. But in an area where residents have frequently clashed with the police, it can be 2 steps forward and 1 step back if the community feels the wrong tactics are being employed. Figures from the District Policing Partnership show that in the 3 months to June, there were almost 700 stop and searches carried out under the Terrorism Act in the Foyle policing area. This resulted in just 5 arrests. Youth worker Danielle Doherty had her car searched under the Terrorism Act when she was campaigning to keep an amenity site open.
As part of our protest, we were to bring rubbish to the site to show, how easily rubbish builds up in your households and that, and how you need to dispose of it. But when the police approached myself, they continued to remove all the rubbish, empty it out of the car, throw it across, which was very embarrassing and humiliating for myself because I had personal items and my bags of rubbish, and I was just quite shocked and I was quite annoyed at the matter.
Whenever the PSNI engage in such practices, which is seen largely as political policing, then that would push their acceptability further and further away. But there's no doubt that people have been contacting the police more now than they've done before. There's no doubt that there has been engagement now that has never happened in the past. But what we have to do is ensure that civic policing, which this community deserves and needs, is what drives policing in Derry, and not the practices of the past.
The Derry Journal's been charting relations between the police and the community for decades. Here's a new development. The paper has just started publishing CCTV images of people wanted for questioning by the PSNI.
Okay.
How many do we have?
There's 15 there this week, so we should be able to make them out much more clearly.
The public have responded by calling the police with information. One sign of normality in local policing. But there's still a way to go.
Derry has come a long way in terms of policing and in terms of the acceptance of policing in nationalist and republican areas. But if you go a few miles across the border and to Buncrana, say, there you have, or any small town in Donegal, the Gardaí very much encourage their members to get very much involved in community life. They're part of the community, they're part of the GAA club, they're part of the soccer club, they run the marching bands, they take part in functions. A lot of them are central figures in their local communities and serve long terms, maybe in a certain town, so that they're embedded and they're part of that. Here on the city side in particular, and maybe on the water side to a degree as well, that is not the case.
Undoubtedly, there are still pockets of resistance to the police in parts of Derry, but the people we met in the city centre were united in wanting a more visible police presence.
Maybe they could have an office in the area, maybe someone from the community could be sort of a liaison between them, and the community could maybe feel like they could go and talk to that person and then they could pass it on.
Do you think that they're not really building bridges at the moment?
No, maybe a bit of publicity, like they had guys on push bikes a few years ago and they came down to the area, had their pictures taken for the press. They haven't been back since.
A hard enough job in Derry, they're faced with obviously people that are against them anyway to start with before they even try to do their job, But in saying that, sometimes they're few and far between. And there is things kicking off in the town Saturday nights and Friday nights. You'd be hard pushed to see them, you know.
Night time, some people's afraid to walk some parts of Derry and that. And then the police, if the police, they say, oh, the police isn't about. Well, when the police is about there, all they get is criticism. But if they let the police walk the streets and do their job, they'll be happy to do it.
I was in London most of my life. I even lived in Brixton during the riots in Brixton. And what happened then, the black police, they got more black policemen in because it was a black area. And they sort of got to know the people better, you know, by talking to them, etc., etc. So they should do the same here.
Dissident Republicans are making their presence felt in Derry. Splinter groups, chiefly the Real IRA, have been stepping up their activities. On Friday, they left bombs outside 2 houses belonging to relatives of a Catholic police officer. Another vigilante group, Republican Action Against Drugs, has been linked to at least 10 so-called punishment shootings and 2 pipe bomb attacks in the past year. And earlier this summer, these protesters forced the District Policing Partnership to abandon its meeting. So where does this leave community policing? Women's Aid claim the PSNI removed 2 specially trained domestic violence officers from rural posts because of a heightened terrorist threat, and then redeployed them to desk duties. 5 months on, says the charity, they're still doing paperwork.
In Strabane and Limavady, it takes a lot of work to get confidence in those rural areas because the issues are different and they're more difficult. And having done all that groundwork, you know, where's the confidence for the people in those areas when they are getting no service? And to be honest, the service coming out from Derry isn't coming out from Derry.
There's still no agreement between the parties on the timetable for the devolution of policing and justice. If it doesn't take place soon, it could be delayed until after the general election. But when it does happen, the police will have new political masters in the form of a Justice Minister and an Assembly Committee. So the new Chief Constable, Matt Baggett, will find himself answerable here at Stormont for the actions of his force. And that would suggest that taking the politics out of policing will be mission impossible.
The politicians and the community have a right to question him if he gets it wrong, to make sure that he gets it right, and to sack him indeed in the long run if he gets it wrong. So that's the way that the equation must be worked out, and it would be wrong for politicians at Stormont, the Minister of Justice, or indeed the Policing Board, to think that they can run the Chief Constable with their foot.
A few months after the murders at Mazarine Barracks and Craigavon, recent events in South Armagh have shown once again just how significant the dissident threat really is. The discovery of a £600 bomb in Fork Hill and the show of strength by gunmen in Mike mean that the PSNI are finding it increasingly difficult and dangerous to fight terrorism with tactics that are effective as well as being acceptable to the community.